Namaste everyone, this is Stephen from YogaWorks. Welcome to your practice. This is part 2 of our Self-Myofascial Release little mini-series where in 3 times 30 minutes I'm going to be showing you how to foam roll your whole body, get to some interesting little trigger points or areas that might get a little bit stuck, and to make a huge difference in a very short period of time. This is a great practice to add to your yoga practice. It wouldn't substitute it. It's not a magical flexibility in no time solution that unfortunately doesn't exist. But in combination with your yoga and other movement and mobility practices, this is really good work and can make you feel like a completely different person in a very short period of time. So in this practice, we're going to be focusing on the hips and the back, and personally this is my favorite. This is one that I need to do on a very regular basis. I often do this for a few minutes before bedtime or after a stronger yoga practice, after a run or cycling, for example, and it's a nice one to combine with all kinds of other things that you might already be doing. Or after a long day at work, this might be exactly what you need, because especially the hips and the back will be quite affected by long hours of sitting and working behind a computer. So for this practice, you're going to need your foam roller or something similar. You're going to need 2 balls that maybe are taped together or that are in a little bag together. And I've also got a block which we'll use as a pillow for some of the movements. So grab your 2 balls and a block and lie on your back. Place the balls sort of in the upper third of your mat, and I'm going to lie with the top of the shoulder blades alongside the balls. So it's quite high in my upper back, and you can use the block as a pillow and then just settle down so that the balls are just gently pressing up into the sides of the shoulder blades, the inner borders. Take a few breaths to settle into this, to accept the pressure from the balls underneath you into your upper back. And we're spending about 30 to 60 seconds on each position or each area. And you never want to be on the spine, so let the balls be on either side of the spine, digging into those paraspinal muscles that run there, as well as the muscles that work on the inner border of your scapulae, the shoulder blades. If you want more pressure, then you can always lift the hips a little bit so that there's more weight pressing down into the balls. And what I like to do, I'll just move my pillow a little bit, just a tiny bit of up and down. Tiny bit up and down rolling. Nice. Now roll a little bit higher so that the balls are more in the lower part of the shoulder blades. And again, rest your head on the pillow. So we're finding a second spot. We're going to be rolling down the spine in 4 parts here. And then let the spine fully soften and relax. And again, accept the pressure from the balls on either side of the spine there. And you can work with the breath, and on the inhales you'll feel there's a bit of extra pressure onto the balls. And on the exhale, see if you can relax around the shape of the balls underneath you. If you want, you can press the feet down and bridge the hips up a bit. And maybe you can remove the pillow just so you have a bit more space to just roll up and down a little bit. So feel the inner border, the lower part of the shoulder blades this time. And if it's too intense, then just keep the hips down and rest there for a little bit longer. It's okay. And now I'm rolling my body up a little bit more. So I'm at the lower part of the rib cage. Now that pillow starts to feel too high, so I'm just turning it down one setting. And relax here. This can be a bit sensitive sometimes. The lower part of the rib cage. There's often a bit of a hinge point because the upper part is a bit more stiff because of the rib cage, and then the lower part has different movement potential and also carries higher weight as we get closer to the pelvis. So visualize the spine and all the muscles running on the both sides of it. And just give it a bit of attention in your mind and also with the sensation of the massage balls underneath you. And again, you can bridge the hips up just to rest more weight onto the balls, and maybe a little bit of movement forward and back. And then set the hips back down. Now, maybe grab the balls and place the balls in the arch of the lower back. So between the hips and the rib cage, really. You probably won't need the block anymore, or you can use it on the lowest setting here. And then just relax. Often lower back pain is a common problem because of posture, because of lack of movement, sometimes because of a lack of core strength around the center. And this might feel good to just let the pressure of the balls lift up into both sides of the lower back. See if you can soften those muscles deep inside the lower back. You can rest here a little bit longer, or if you want a bit more sensation, you can try to lift one knee or both knees into, not really into the chest, but more above the hips, and then just hold them with your hands. And then you can press the knees a little bit into your hands so they're more above your hips, and it's going to increase the pressure onto the balls. Just feel that. And then you can press the knees into the chest and now lengthen the lower back between where you touch the mat higher up and where your lower back touches the balls. See if you can round that part. And then just bring one foot down at a time. And then you can remove the balls from underneath you, just lie flat on your back and observe how you feel for a moment. Just this can make a huge difference. And slide the balls back under your lower back. But this time we're going to be moving both legs a little bit to the left. And then slide the balls a bit more to the left side. And there's a really sensitive point where you have the strong muscles along the spine and you're coming in a little bit from the side. You might have to wiggle around a bit or move the legs a little bit up and down, and I feel the most when I just in a really mild spinal twist, and one of the balls is pressing into the side of those strong muscles. That's your QL, the quadratus lumborum. It's a deep muscle in the lower back, connecting the back of the pelvis with the back of the rib cage. It's a hard one to get to, and it often causes a bit of problems if it gets too tight. So this is a good way to get to it, but you'll have to be quite precise. You want to find like a sensitive point coming in from the side there, in the lower back. And then lift the knees back to center, shift both balls a little bit to the right. One is more for support and one is really going to find that pressure point, and just wiggle around a bit so you could feel those muscles and the balls coming in from the sides of the strong muscles to find that trigger point. You might have to roll a bit more to your side so you can figure it out. But basically, if you have trouble finding it, I'll just show you where I'm placing my thumbs. This is more or less where we want to come in. And there's a ropey muscle along the spine in the lower back. And when I come in from the side, in the middle between the hips and the rib cage, that's really where we are looking to be. Rest your knees to the side, wherever you feel the most benefit. And slowly lift them back up and then sit all the way up. You can place the myofascial release balls to the side and swap for the foam roller. Place it somewhere halfway on your mat and come onto it with the right leg straight, the left knee bent. So I'm almost lying on my back, but I'm sort of at a little bit of an angle. Let's say 45 degrees, that's probably a good estimate. And then roll from the hip point, so that bony part in the hip, all the way to the lower back, so the back of the pelvis. So that's the glute muscle. It's actually 3 muscles that form the glutes together. You're more or less hitting each of them with this, and just find this broad area to roll over. Some parts will feel really great, and some might feel a little bit tender. Just observe that. And also notice how long that muscle extends. It goes down quite far, and it goes up all the way to your lower back, to the sacrum. So just roll into that whole area. And then from here, just sit a little bit higher up and place your right ankle over the left knee and roll a little bit to your right again. So we're targeting the outer hip muscle, this time a little bit deeper than the glutes. We're talking about the external rotators of the hip. Piriformis is a main one that you might have heard of. And again, roll a little bit forward and a little bit back. And you can roll more to the side or stay higher up, and it's going to have a little bit of a different angle. So explore the outer part of that hip joint with your rolling here. And maybe change the angle slightly to get in there. Quite a sensitive area that's a bit hard to reach. So take your time and explore. Nice release. And we'll take it to the second side. So left glutes on the roll. I'm at about a 45-degree angle. The right foot is just as support, and I have another kickstand here with the arm. And between that, you can roll up and down. So I'm going from the outer hip point all the way to the sacrum, that bony part in the lower back. You can lift this leg up, or you can keep it down. Not so much difference, but see if you can really sit on that roll as you roll up and down. And you can change the angle slightly, a bit more to the side or a little bit more with your chest up to the ceiling. It's going to be a slightly different approach. We'll do a little bit more for the muscles in the outer hip just now, so we'll get to that. And then sit a bit higher up and place your left ankle over the right knee, so in a figure of four shape, and just find those muscles in the outer hip. So we're in the same kind of area, but because the leg is in the figure four, we're getting access to the deeper lying muscles a little bit better. And again, I would recommend to change the angle slightly, so you can go more up or more down with that left knee. I feel most when the knee is almost parallel to the mat. But it's nice to change it and to dig in there. And then release that. And you can place the roll off to the side. So the roll is great to get a large area of muscles like the glutes. And then the peanut, this is sometimes called, is great to get a little bit more of specific targeted work. So going back onto the right hip, I'm placing the peanut or the two balls that are taped together. And I'm in a similar angle to what we did on the roll, but now you feel the balls are digging up a little bit more into one specific area. They cover less of a broader area. And this time, so we're at the point, feel the bony part of the hip is just under the balls, and then the hip point is above the balls, and you're at about a 45-degree angle to the mat. Keep that, and lift and lower your bottom leg a couple of times. So we're targeting glute medius, mostly here. And there's a whole bunch of muscles that tend to be a little bit weak, a little bit tight from our modern lifestyles. And then just release that for a moment, just rest down there. Now roll a little bit more onto your side. You can place your top foot over if you want. Actually, I prefer it still behind, but just figure it out. So I'm again between the hip point here and the outer hip, but now I'm more in a side-lying position, more with the body almost vertical. You can place your head in your hand like this, and a couple of times lift and lower the bottom leg. So now the muscle we're targeting is the TFL, the tensor fascia lata, which abducts your leg, so it moves your leg out to the side. And it's also responsible for stability while you walk and move. And then just rest down for a moment. Rest your weight onto that point. And then we've got one more, so keep the balls where they are, but just now move your right knee down and now turn your body at a 45-degree angle to the mat this way. And now you're sort of more in the front pocket. I'll show you in this leg. So you've got the bony hip point, you go a little bit down and a little bit inwards, and where your pocket would be of your jeans. And rest down there, and this is a bit of an all or nothing one. Either you feel a lot, you hit that exact spot, or it won't do very much. So wiggle around a bit until you feel, I found it. There's no doubt when you will find it. So there we're more on the hip flexors running in the front of the hip. Again, you can move the leg up and down a little bit if that feels helpful. But sometimes less is more with these kind of practices. So don't feel like you have to be too active. You more have to be skillful and precise, actually, to get into the right spot. And then come off of that. turn around so you can see better. Place the two balls, and we're starting off a bit more facing the ceiling with the left outer hip on the balls, so the glute medius, a little bit the same as what we've done on the roll before. Support yourself. You can roll around a little bit until you feel a point where you can just stop. Let the weight of your body rest down on the balls. And if it feels helpful, a couple of times you can lift and lower the lower leg, the left leg. And if you're moving, be still for a moment. So we're doing a little circle from the back of the hip to the side of the hip to the front of the hip. So now we'll move into the second position. We've done glute medius, and this is the TFL. So for here, I like to lie on my side, and you can support yourself with your other leg however you want. Maybe in front, maybe behind. You can also lie down, that's actually more stable. I should have done that on the other side. And then a couple of times, lift and lower. And try to lie on your side as much as possible. Might feel quite intense, this one. And then be still for a moment. Really try to lie on your side so your body is at a 90-degree angle to the mat. Take a deep breath and soften the outer hip. And then bring the right knee up and roll a bit more to the front of that left hip. Again, we're in the pocket side, so if you would slide your hand into your pocket, that's exactly where the balls will be pressing. And you can shift a bit forward, a little bit back until you feel that exact spot again that will leave you with no doubt that you found it. See if you can rest your weight onto that point. Couple of breaths to soften. And then slowly lift up and place the balls off to the side, and then just line your back to observe the after effects of your work. And you feel the hips rest down with a bit more ease. Feel all around the outer hips, the front of the hips, the buttocks. Feel how they rest down on the mat. And then feel the spaciousness in your lower back, the middle back and the upper back. Feel the whole spine gently curve through the upper body, from the pelvis to the base of your skull. This superhighway of the nervous system running through the whole body. It's a really important part, really necessary to take great care of our spine and the hips. And in half an hour you've made a huge difference. You showed up, you dug in there, and this is the result. If you want to rest for a little bit longer, then I would highly recommend it. If you've got a few more minutes to rest in Shavasana, please take it. If it's time for you to go, then I'll hope to see you again soon. And thank you for practicing. Namaste.